I reckon that as soon as we get started, people are going to start funneling in. So before we just dive in, I just want to set a couple of expectations for what to expect over the next 60 to 90 minutes. This is not a business seminar, okay? My job here is not to give you frameworks for taking your business from $0 to $1 million a month, okay? That's not what this is. This will either be the best seminar that you ever see in your life, the worst seminar that you ever see in your life, or somewhere in between. So now that we've set those expectations correct, let's make it clear really what I'm here to talk about today. This is mindset. Mindset, psychology, and identity. All of these things correlate to each and everything that we do in our lives. Now, we are in the hub of technological innovation, San Francisco. How many of you guys are coders? Okay, vast majority of the crowd. Now, you spend a fair amount of your time and energy programming computers. Let me ask you a question. How long and how much energy do you spend programming your biological computer? Have you thought about that? Your brain is a biological computer. And in the same way that the programs that you're running, or the LLMs that you are prompting, have system prompts, so does your fucking brain. The issue here is that you wake up and you've been running the same fucking programs since you were a kid. The programs that society has been installing into you since you were a little kid. The programs that your mom and dad have been installing into you since you were a little kid. That your peers, that your teachers. There comes a point to where there's so many limiting beliefs inside of your head that aren't even fucking yours. It's not even you. It is these voices that keeps us from being the best version of ourselves. Vision is the genesis of all greatness. And if you are so distracted by voices in your head that are not yours, if you are so distracted that you cannot see the greatest version of yourself, how are you supposed to be great? If vision is the genesis of all greatness, how are you supposed to be great if you can't even see what the greatest version of yourself looks like? So, right here, in this corner, I have 100 dots. 100 dots, 5 of them are red. What is the significance of this? Psychology says that 95% of human behavior is repeated human behavior. 95% of everything that you do, everything that you think, everything that you feel comes from automatic programs that exist in your subconscious mind that are simply launching in response to external stimuli. So let me ask you a question. 100 words come out of your mouth. 5 of them you have conscious agency over. 100 actions that you take towards your business. 5 of them you have conscious agency over. 100 emotions you feel in a day. 5 of them you have conscious agency over. So now we start to actually do the math here, right? We do a little bit of compounding. 95%, that's a pretty big fucking percentage. And that's compounding every single day, every single day, every single day, every single day. What happens if you have shitty programs? What happens if you have shitty programs? It doesn't matter how much willpower you try to exercise over your life. If you are programmed for failure, if you are programmed for fear, those are the results that you're going to get. You don't get what you want, you get what you are programmed for. So, how many of us can kind of resonate with, oh, yeah, there's definitely some voices in my head that maybe aren't mine. There's definitely things that I have done in my life or have attempted to do in my life, and I cannot seem to get on top of it. I can't seem, no matter how much willpower I exercise over my behavior, I just can't seem to get ahead. Any of us experience that? Yeah? So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down, very practically, both a somewhat technical and somewhat practical understanding of how the mind works and what you can do to position yourself to basically reprogram some of those shitty programs that you have in your subconscious, okay? But in order to do that, I have to explain, first off, how the biological computer that's in our mind actually kind of works. So, we've established that 95% of the mind, honestly, could be more. But I'm actually rounding down here, okay? There is a filter. There's a filter between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. This filter is called the critical factor. Okay? Now, there's about 5 different brainwave states that you enter into, in and out of, every single day. Every single day, you go in and out of these 5 states. It's alpha, beta, delta, gamma, and theta. Now, remember when I said that you're running programs from when you were a child? The thing is that when you are age 0 to 8, you are pretty much in a non-stop state of theta, 0 to 8. This is just a data point. We're going to circle back to it. When you are an adult, once you reach adulthood, the vast majority of your waking state is in a beta brainwave state. Okay? So let's just focus on these 2 right now, because this is the majority of your waking state as an adult. And these 2 states are the most useful for what we're looking to do here. Now, let's break down a couple of different qualities that each of these states possess. When you're in a beta brainwave state, you're thinking logically, you're thinking analytically, we're problem solving, okay? So let's write that down. Logical, analytical. And when you're in a theta brainwave state, it's very symbolic, like it's an emotional state. You're thinking in symbolism. This is the language of the mind when you're in this state, okay? Symbolism. And emotional. Okay, great. So now we have a couple of different data points. Now, remember how we said there's a filter between the conscious and the subconscious mind? Who's got a water bottle? Can I use this water bottle? Perfect. Let's say this water bottle is your mind, okay? Right now, we want to install a program into the subconscious, the place that's automatic, the things that are happening without even having to try. Let me ask you a question. If the program that we're looking to install is water, then what state do you think this is, if I'm looking to put water into my water bottle? Right now, there's a small little mouthful, okay? This would be beta. This would be a beta brainwave state. This would be the vast majority of your waking state. You're in a logical, analytical, problem-solving mind. This is the language of the mind. Okay. This is what it would look like when you're in a theta brainwave state. Okay? If we're just moving, if I am symbolizing the filter between the conscious and the subconscious mind, you see that in your theta state, it's a lot easier to fill up, right? There's not as much blockage here. So, hopefully that paints a clear picture for why we're talking about these data points. Even if you understood what your psychological problem was from an analytical and logical perspective, even if you understood that, you'd have a really hard time doing shit about it. Because your brain isn't even the right fucking state for you to install new programs. So, what do we do? I'm going to continue forward here. I'm going to continue and just show you that, like, when we're in a theta state, which, by the way, theta, deep theta, this is contemplative prayer. This is deep meditation. This is also a state that you enter. Like I said, you enter in and out of all of these states every single day. You enter in and out of deep theta every single day, 10 minutes after waking up and 10 minutes as you're drifting into sleep for a very brief time frame. So right here, if there is one most leveraged point in your day to install or start reprogramming your subconscious mind, it is to simply take advantage of the times already that you are naturally in this state. Which means that if the first thing you do, or the last thing you do before going to bed, or like the first thing you do right after waking up, if the first thing you do is getting on your phone, you're cooked. Like, you're literally programming your subconscious with brain rot. You're cooked. It's not a good thing. So, I want to tell you a little bit of a story as to how I got into this and why this was just interesting to me. So 10 years ago, I was in my AP psychology class, and my teacher asked me to read from the textbook. And I just remember reading this paragraph that said 95% of human behavior is like automatic programs. And I looked up and I looked around, and nobody around the room was like, it wasn't clicking for all of us here. And that started the question. That started the question for me, like, holy crap. Like, is it possible? Is it even possible? And if it is, how do you do it? Now, one of the reasons that this was kind of relevant or important to me is because growing up, my mother was an alcoholic. She struggled with alcoholism. And it was really interesting. It caused me to be very introspective about human behavior and identity. Why is it that someone can say that they want to change? Why is it that someone can say that they want to change, but they keep doing the same shit? There comes a point to where it's frustrating. And as I got older and I was growing older, I also found myself being very introspective about myself and my own relationships with my own behavioral patterns. My background, I've been performing professionally with one of the top 5 entertainment products in the nation for private events. I've been touring with this band all over the nation for the past 6+ years. Also, I do have an advanced certification in hypnosis and hypnotherapy. Okay? So, I am contextualizing the tool that I have eventually come to find to be the tool or the method or the thing that made sense for me as to, okay, how do we do this? How do we do this? So, real quick, before we continue, does anyone have any questions so far on anything that I've said or talked about? It's intriguing, right? It's like interesting. It's interesting to think about this. If nothing else, it's like, whoa, maybe I haven't thought about my own identity and my own behavior like this before. Victoria, what's up?
What state is journaling?
What state is journaling?
Yeah.
Like when you're getting into journaling?
Yeah.
Well, if you get into flow, then you get it tapped into your emotions. Realistically speaking, you're pretty much running you're running on autopilot 95% of your day. You know what I mean? So it's if you are being logical or analytical, then maybe beta. If you get tapped into your emotions, then maybe you'll be more in an alpha state, but you're not going to just enter a deep theta state with your eyes open, to be honest. Okay, let me clarify this, okay? One of the reasons that I am here and speaking with this perspective is because I understand both parts of the technique and parts of the practical application. So if you think about a surfer who's been surfing for 10 years, right? It's not that he doesn't understand physics he doesn't understand physics. He does. He simply might not understand physics on enough to teach a seminar on physics, right? And so I bring this up because the physics professor who's teaching physics every day, does he have the in-field experience to teach people how to fucking surf? You need to bridge the gap. So it's like, yo, there's learn and then apply, learn and then apply, learn and then apply. One of the most valuable aspects of something like journaling is being introspective. Shedding awareness onto your patterns is one of the things that can help you break them. Now, one of the tricks here is that a lot of people think that changing your behavior starts with the behavior. Oh, I want to get shredded and go to the gym. Okay, so let me start going to the gym. This is what I like to call the gobstopper of identity. Okay? On the outside, you got behaviors. Down here, you got thoughts. You got emotions. And then you have identity. If you try to change who you are by changing your behavior, it's not going to be long before you just ricochet back to your old patterns. Because remember, your conscious agency is crap. Your conscious agency is crap. Understanding who it is that you are at the deepest level is what the rest of the gobstopper of identity sheds outside of that. So let me put it like this. There is something called approach anxiety if guys are anxious about talking to girls, okay? And the thing is that if you, let's break it down logically. If you knew that the experience was going to be positive, for what reason would you be anxious? For what reason would you be nervous? If you knew that the outcome was going to be a positive interaction, why would you be nervous? You would be excited. The thing is from here, without even realizing it, so many people are unconsciously projecting an outcome of rejection, an outcome that they don't like, an outcome that they are afraid of. Realistically speaking, fear drives a lot of identity patterns. A lot of people have deep patterns of fear. And as they navigate throughout life, they are, hi, I'm Bronson. Now look, I want to make it clear that having confidence, having unwavering conviction in who you are, it doesn't necessarily look the same for everyone, okay? I want to make it clear that being loud or being, I'm on stage right now, okay? I have a responsibility to make sure that your attention is given an ROI. And in an attention economy, like, we got to keep things interesting. If I pull up to a seminar and the people are sitting here talking like this for more than 5 seconds, I'm fucking out. I'm checked out. You got to get, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? So, I bring this up because, like, for example, who here knows a niche? You guys know a niche? Okay. A niche, I love a niche. The dude's one confident motherfucker, but he's quiet as hell. And he just goes about his day, and it's like, he's got this swagger that's like, he just believes in himself. You know, you can feel it when you talk to him. Okay, so I bring this up because I do want to communicate on an energetic level signal for conviction. If this isn't something you've seen before. I also want to make sure that the signal that's being emitted isn't confused for being a showman or being loud or whatever. There's clearly dynamic, okay? Where we get louder, we get quieter. Now, let's take it back to this filter here. Because every single day, or at every single moment, you've got, like, this isn't, this is very much like waves or water or energy frequencies that's fluctuating. Now, there's a couple of different things that can overwrite or open up a window in the critical factor, okay? These things are shock, pattern interrupt, confusion. These are like the three most practical things that can open up a window. And that window is for an indefinite amount of time. For example, right now, it's not often that you find people who are speaking on stage breaking the fourth wall, coming into the audience. Right now, first off, it's a pattern interrupt. It also might be somewhat of a shock. You guys are like, what the fuck is going on here, right? And so, understanding this is important for you and your business. Because right now I'm getting into how attention works, like how human attention works. At the end of the day, there's two things that facilitate influence: authority and novelty. Okay? One of the things that catches your attention, if you continue to give it attention, then you're consuming patterns, you're consuming programs. What programs are you consuming? What are they literally calling it in all of your marketing videos? Hooks. What do the hooks do? They create shock. They create confusion. They create a pattern interrupt. I want to keep your attention. Why? To open up a window and fucking jam in your product. That's what you're fucking doing. That's the world that we're living in right now. Now, I can understand that, look, realistically speaking, this is something that is intriguing, if nothing else. This is something that is very intriguing, and it's worth just asking the question of how is this information something that can take me from where I'm currently at to a better version, simply a better version of who it is that I want to become, so that I can show up in the world and I've reprogrammed the unconscious patterns in a way that allow me to not even have to try. Not even have to try. I'm not even having to try. Because when you trying, emanates scarcity. Trying, hey, real quick, try to tie your shoe. Okay. Try to give me a fist bump here. Try to give me a fist bump. Yeah. That's weird, right? Why is it weird? Because the possibility of failure is implied when you use the word try. But you're like, what the fuck? I don't even need to try to tie my shoe. I'm just going to fucking tie my shoe. I'm just going to give you a fist bump. You know what I mean? So we have so many things in our life that we presuppose the outcome of. We presuppose we will be successful when it comes to tying our shoe. When it comes to giving a fist bump, we presuppose that we're not going to fail. So why do you presuppose failure when you go to talk to that person that you're interested in? Why do you presuppose failure when you go to share your product with someone? What are you presupposing in your life? And how does your identity correlate to the presuppositions that you have? And how many presuppositions are a part of your automatic programming? How many presuppositions of failure that do you not even have to try to have? I don't even have to try to believe I'm going to fail. That's kind of fucked up. That's kind of fucked up. But it's what you get. It's what you get when the headlines that are negative curate more attention than the positive headlines, right? If nothing else, it's a fucking like flashbang of like, yo, wake the fuck up, you know? Be conscientious of what you're consuming. Be conscientious of how you are being influenced. If you are giving your attention to something, you're being influenced by it. And the thing is that, like I said, with 95, okay, right now, okay, who here has heard of the RAS? The reticulating activation system? One person? Oh, you've heard of it? Yeah? Yeah, okay, you? Okay, so, and you've heard of it? Yeah. So, just real quick, if you were to just take a quick look around and look at everything that's yellow real quick. Look at everything that's yellow. Identify all the things that are yellow. Okay, great. Take a moment to close your eyes, okay? Think about all the things that you just saw that were blue. Oh, yeah, Rose said, oh, fuck, dude. Fuck, I wasn't looking for blue. I was looking for yellow. How does this apply to identity? How does this apply to presupposition? Well, if you're looking for failure, you're going to get it. You have a question? It's not what you look at, it's what you see and what you notice. Exactly. 100%. Which, by the way, both of us are working on consumer apps similar. Anyways, this critical factor, something I failed to mention earlier. What this filter does is it generalizes, it distorts, and it deletes information. So like she literally just said, it's not what you look at, it's what you see. So your filter, imagine I'm this person who's can't talk to girls or whatever, right? And let's say I have an unconscious belief about my identity that every girl is mean to me. Okay? So let's just say that. And I walk up to this girl, and and she's super nice. She's super nice to me. Well, the reason I bring this up is because the critical factor is just going to delete that. It's going to delete the information. It's going to delete all of the blue and look at the yellow. And then you are reinforcing this identity by picking and choosing unconsciously the data that you want to keep on this trajectory of this current identity. Word. Okay. How are we feeling? Are we feeling good? Cool. Are there any questions right now? Any other questions? Ro, you look like you got a question.
Yeah, it's really hard to formulate it, but I can try.
Wait, what did we just say? You got this.
Yeah, so you were saying about like reprogramming ourselves and like that we have this like each one of us we have these intentions to like we have this better version of ourselves in our minds.
Mm-hmm.
But how to tell if it's like a true better version of yourself or it's like being dictated by those 95 black dots?
Great question. That's a great question. Well, keep in mind, like you still have some conscious agency, right? So like the art of reprogramming the subconscious is, honestly, in my opinion, it's all about aligning your unconscious values with your conscious goals and desires. Like understanding what's driving you at an unconscious level and then making sure that there's alignment between this and this. So let me ask again, or let me make sure I am understanding understanding your question. Can you do what you can to ask it one more time? How do you know? How do you know if the best version of yourself that you see is your conscious mind or your unconscious mind?
Are you saying like it hasn't been influenced by content you consume by the experience?
Yes, influenced by this like automatic stuff, like by the
What do you want?
So that like
I think it goes back to like connecting with your true self. If you think of like, you know, who were you as a child, what made you happy? That's like kind of one of the first steps. But it's like clarity on your true identity.
I mean like how to tell like what's true, what's not. It's just how.
Well,
That's step one.
what do you want? If you can get clear.
I mean like I like to I like Instagram, for example. I like to spend a lot of time on Instagram. And probably obviously it's like it's not like a best behavior. But could there be like a probability that that's the exact thing I need and like it's my destiny, like to spend a lot of time on Instagram?
Yeah, I mean.
But it looks like it's from those black dots.
Sure. Look, realistically speaking, I'm not suggesting that you change. I'm not suggesting that you change. There could be a probability that your destiny is to scroll on Instagram every day. And if that's what you want, and there's alignment between your conscious and your subconscious mind on that, by all means, you know? If there was a part of you consciously that when you're honest with yourself, that says, you know what, this is something that I don't, like, I actually don't want this, then this is where we ask the question, okay, cool. Is this habit that is happening, is it coming from subconscious programs that are launching, satiating unconscious desires or unconscious values? Does that make sense?
Yes, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Word. Just to get some catharsis on this, practically speaking, there's going to be a version of you that is better than the current version of you. Or there's two different trajectories. There's one on your left, where if you keep going down this path, you're gonna continue being the same person doing the same things, and you're going to keep getting the same results that you don't want. And then there is another version of you where you know that there is change that you can take right now, because change happens now. This is a great example. Yesterday morning, as I was coming out of Delta, when I was in Theta, coming into conscious awareness, the idea of this experience came into my mind. Now, was it something that I thought of consciously? Was it something that I thought of unconsciously? I don't know. But what I do know is that as I went about my day and started working on other parts of my business, I couldn't seem to shake the idea that I had to host a pop-up seminar. And the thoughts and emotions that were telling me don't do it were all rooted in fear. What are people going to think? Oh, people won't like that. Oh, people are going to think you're crazy. You know what I mean? And I knew that if I rationalize not doing this, then what am I going to do? That action reinforces somebody that is not me. So I'm at a crossroads. I'm at a fork. I either do this or I don't. And depending on what I do from this point forward, that determines my new identity that gets reinforced by my behavior, by my thoughts, by my actions. I can at least now go to sleep tonight looking myself in the mirror and say, cool, we have respect. Like, I respect myself. Great. Great. Fuck yeah. And then you're on a roll. Then you start compounding. Change happens now. This might have been a bigger example, but there's things like that all over the place. Who are you? Who are you? Real quick, let me just do you a quick show of hands. Is this making sense? Is there do you all have at least one thing in your life that this maybe has made you realize, yo, actually, yeah, there's something that I could do right now that would reinforce an identity that feels a little bit more aligned with the greatest version of myself. Yeah? Great. I want to open up the floor for any other questions or going once. No. Does anyone have any questions or anything? Great. Yeah, what's up?
In the golf stopper model,
yeah,
you sort of framed it as a work from the inside out.
Yes.
Is there any way of if you look at behaviors themselves, is there a way of contextualizing changing your behavior today to be the person you will be tomorrow?
Okay. Any way to contextualize changing your behavior today to reinforce the identity that you...
Yes.
Okay. So let me make sure I understand this question. You're basically...
take, for example, I want to be someone that exercises or runs every day.
Okay.
And that's a behavior. And say, I'm not that person today, but I want to be that person tomorrow. That's a behavior, target behavior that sort of starts with 1-2 changes, and then picks up momentum. And
yeah, okay, so you're basically, okay, so let me get this clear. You want to be someone who runs every day. Okay, so what is not running every day giving you?
Peace of mind. I hate running.
Okay, great. So then you clearly don't want to be someone who runs every day.
I don't, if that was an example. But yeah, to the extent where changing one behavior kind of creates the momentum to the point where you're actually changing your identity?
When Arnold Schwarzenegger goes to the gym, okay? He said that when he goes to the gym, when he works out, it feels orgasmic. Yeah. It feels orgasmic when he goes to the gym. You got me fucked up if I wasn't in the gym every day too, if that was my experience at the gym. That's his identity. Discipline is doing something you don't like. You talk to people who are shredded, who go to the gym every day, they fucking love that shit. They fucking love that shit. It's a part of who it is that they are. Now, you have some people like David Goggins, where it's like, stay hard, you know? And like, to be honest, in my opinion, that's somewhat toxic, but like, there is also some validity to like, okay, cool, we need to stick to it. But at the end of the day, it's like, bro, he fucking loves that shit. You know, you can say that he's, you know, doing all these things that he doesn't want to do, but in the grand scheme of things, he does it because that's who he is. Does this help, like?
Yeah, I mean, that was a good example.
Cool.
Same behavior outcome, but different identity, though, at the same time. I guess it's kind of interesting.
Same behavior outcome.
Yeah, Goggins and Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Different identity, but same behavior outcome.
Yeah, exactly. What's driving it? So
Do you not think discipline is the driver behind that? Like, people are often searching for motivation or passion, but I find that people that are very successful in that sense, motivation is the thing. Sorry, not motivation, but what was the word you used? But like the desire to complete it over and over again, even if you don't want to do it, to actually be the driver of those situations.
So I would just say that's like, what's the driver of discipline? Like that person, whoever's doing that, they literally view themselves as somebody who, no matter what, shows the fuck up. Like that's who I am. That's how I would say it. Identity's like at the core. This is underneath.
Do you think that's achievable for the masses or no?
For the masses.
Utilizing some of these methods you talk about. I mean, a lot of people lack that discipline, you know.
Well, I would say this. That's a great question. I can answer your question in two ways. One, and let's rephrase it just so I have clarity on what the question is. You're asking, do I believe it's possible for the masses to leverage?
For the average person to hone in on discipline on something that they don't give a fuck about. For instance, like the ability to stay locked in I mean, all these people are entrepreneurial.
100%.
Built through the lows, built through the highs. It's easy to be there in the highs. It's hard to stay in the highs, right? And that's usually through discipline. The ability to show up day in and day out, not take a day off, not get distracted. You know, do you think that's something that people can train themselves to becoming, to find that flow state, if you will, that some people would use that term?
Yeah, I would say that like pragmatically, what would this actually look like? First, it would look like the average person becoming aware of how the mind actually works. If you aren't aware of the system prompt that your agent has when you're talking to it, then like, you ask it questions and it's giving you bullshit. You know what I mean? You have a question?
Just a comment.
Yeah.
So I would say that in both of these examples, right, becoming a runner, becoming someone who does really hard stuff even when you don't want to do it or don't feel like showing up for yourself, unlocking in. Both of those, you know, I think you were asking, like, what behaviors can you shift behavior to establish identity? Mm-hmm. I would say that the inverse of that could actually be more impactful and effective. So, for example, like, you know, you talked about this unlock here, right, in the filter. So if you were to every single morning and every single night before you go to bed when you have data, meditate on I am a runner, right? Like, that is your identity, and that's your affirmation you're telling yourself all the time. Then what are you going to think about throughout the day? this is the subconscious rewiring that you will then be thinking about running more frequently. You will notice runners on the street more frequently, and then you are more likely to go for a run yourself. So like, it's creating change and identity through increasing focus on that topic will actually drive behavioral change more than focusing on the behavior itself.
100%. So as we established that, like the point of time in your day where you're naturally in a state where your critical factor, the filter between your conscious and subconscious, is the thinnest, is the most malleable. Like, this is where this is the most leveraged part of your day to take advantage of. So in order for the average person to then become someone who is actually not average, they must have vision. They must see the greatness. Vision is the genesis of all greatness. See the greatest version of yourself. And cool, that's your new program. Like, that's your new program. And let's leverage that program while we have conscious agency, and also when we're in this state to like, okay, cool, let's meditate on this so this program sinks down and starts overriding the non-runner identity. Hell yeah. Cool. Anything else? Anybody else? Peter.
How do you prevent, when you're doing this, distorting your reality so far that you kind of like lose track? Like, how do you still acknowledge your own limits? Because there's limits to, say if I wanted to become an Olympian,
Yeah.
like, I'm too old.
Great
it's
question.
a real limit.
Great question.
And if I almost psych myself into becoming an Olympian,
Yeah.
that's not a good idea.
I love this question. This is a great question. The thing is that, like, how do you not psych yourself? Basically, how do you not install a delusional identity, or like assume a delusional identity? That's kind of, I feel like that's kind of what you're implying. You said like,
But not necessarily an identity, but like a delusional possibility. Like, how do you acknowledge what's a real possibility and what's delusional?
yeah, well, that's not something that is within like my discretion. But what I will say is this. Discretion, in my opinion, the single most valuable attribute a human being has is discretion. And discretion on two fronts. Let's say you have a data set that you're like scanning, which a data set can be literally anything. This, like, looking around you, you always have a data set in front of you, right? You have a data set of this, and you're looking for yellow, or you're looking for blue. Or sorry, yellow exists or blue exists, right? So the reason that discretion is the number one most valuable attribute of a human being is because, like, you have quality of discretion and rate of discretion. If I'm the most confident person in the world, that's great. But if I don't have the self-awareness or the awareness to know that despite my confidence I have chapped lips or that I smell bad, then that's just like, that's data that's impacting your trajectory that you're completely oblivious to. You know, so I think the answer to your question is a little bit of kind of like, there is an art to practicing self-awareness. There's an art to being aware, and it's up to you to determine what's possible and what's not. Because realistically speaking, I've seen some crazy fucking shit. You know, I've seen some crazy shit. Before someone ran the 4-minute mile, everyone thought it was impossible. Everyone thought you would die. Next thing you know, you have one person run a 4-minute mile, and within 7 days, you got 14 more people run a 4-minute mile. So what's impossible? If you don't have someone who has the vision, like, this is something that I see, and we're making it happen. It's already done. Someone who has that type of conviction, the probabilities a whole lot higher for getting that outcome. And the way that I view this is that It is simply more useful. It is more useful to presuppose my success than to presuppose my failure. So if this is a game of probabilities, sure. Call me delusional. But either way, you're delusional. Because reality is subjective. That's not to discredit, like, yeah, maybe you're not going to win first place in a marathon in the Olympics if you're 84 years old. Like, so there's this balance of, there's this dance, it's a dance, right? It's a dance between self-awareness and acknowledging, no, that's a limiting belief. That's a limiting belief. And in my experience, I believe that is an intuition that gets refined in the field. Like, let's be real about the lies that we're telling ourselves, or the lies that are being, whether we're telling ourselves or like that we're hearing in our head. How valid is this? But also, if we shed some awareness on it more often than not, we know. We know, like, yo, no, that's holding me back. Like, this is a cop-out. Like, this is an excuse. This is bullshit.
Don't you think that contradicts what you said about trying? Like, the way I
Can you
think about
elaborate?
it, there's a difference between, like, being humble. You know, you can still be humble and confident. I just see no point in going through life if you don't think you can be better than you can do everything the best. Right? Like, why am I going to walk in a room if I don't think I can do it?
Yeah.
Right? Sports, technology, whatever the case is, and that's not to discredit other people's skills. But like,
Yes.
why would you as a human want to go through a situation and say, I'm less than that?
100%.
Why can't I be the best? And I feel like that contradicts what you're saying about trying. For instance, like, I don't play soccer, but if I'm going to play football, like most of these people call it,
Sure.
I'm gonna play out there like I'm better than everybody else, and I believe it. You know, and I'm willing to die trying.
So,
From that standpoint.
okay,
So
gotcha.
why would you go into any situation assuming I'm gonna try? I'm gonna try to do it. If you're saying, hey, but trying is failing.
trying has a presupposition of failure.
Sure.
I'm not seeing where you're saying that I contradicted what I.
No, but like, for instance, he's saying, I want to be in the Olympics, right?
Sure.
And you're kind of saying like, well, you gotta understand your limits. Well, I feel like that's saying like, hey, I can try and do it, but I really can't do it.
All I'm saying is this, like, take the data. If you have high quality discretion, then you take the data and surf the data as if it's a wave. If you have high quality discretion, you take the data and it's like, okay, cool, this is what the data says. And I can determine, like, if I look at 0 and I think it's 5, then my quality of discretion isn't as good as it could be. So how accurate is your discretion when analyzing data? And how quickly do you come to the conclusion? If it takes me 2 years to determine that this is 0 and that like 5 isn't 0, then you're not going to have as much of an edge in the marketplace as your competition who comes to that conclusion after 2 months. You with me? Word. Sweet. You still feel like
You're good.
Fuck yeah. Sweet. Cool. Anything else? Peter, do you feel catharsis? Somewhat?
Yeah, I understand. Thanks.
Hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah.
So I have a question about the bridge you're talking about between consciousness and unconsciousness.
Hell yeah.
Obviously, it's a good thing because we want to grow our conscious mind and have it take over more of our daily practices. But what do we do to stop, the unconscious mind from being taken over through that same bridge?
This is what I would, okay, this is a great question. I would say that the intent would more so be to get clarity on programs with your conscious mind that you want and turn those conscious programs into unconscious patterns so that you're reprogramming how you show up at an unconscious level without even having to try. So if what this looks like, it might take a little bit of conscious agency to, okay, for example, there's a lot of data that my subconscious mind is taking in by hosting this seminar, right? The next time I do an event like this, there's like, I'm going to be more equipped. I'm going to be more equipped to handle new data. Does that make sense? Like, information that I might not be consciously able to process because I'm managing the capacity of my conscious mind right now. Like, the act of doing this, I will internalize and be able to automate some of the management the next time I do this event, and I'll be able to be maybe a little bit more conscientious of like other patterns. Does that make sense?
Reinforcement learning.
Yes, I guess that's what that is.
Yeah.
Reinforcement learning.
So you're saying that those 5 red dots won't ever become 6 red dots because one of those dots will stay being a black dot, but it's because you've actually learned
Bingo.
that to be your pattern.
Bingo. So the art is like, the art of basically turning these black dots into black dots that you're proud of, or that like, okay, that's who I am. You know what I mean? Sweet. Talk to me.
So at times there are these things that, let's say you do something and that proves to yourself that you are what you want to be, or like what you want yourself to be like, real self. Maybe confidence. Let's just say confidence, for example. You feel confident when you are able to do a certain task. And if you keep proving yourself, let's say you win a hackathon, or you go to the gym every day, you're improving, these small things keep on adding to your confidence. What if there are times when you are not able to give yourself these examples, or like, because this confidence that you've achieved is a byproduct of all of these small wins that you've stacked.
Okay.
What if these wins stop stacking for a while? How do you not fall into them?
Great question. So basically he's saying that like, if you're using your behavioral patterns, kind of like what you were talking about, if you're using your behavioral patterns as evidence to reinforce an identity that you want to continue flourishing, what happens when the data starts to get compromised? How do you make sure that your new identity doesn't get compromised? There are 3 things, and to answer your question just bluntly, state management. There are 3 things that determine your state: focus, self-talk, and physiology. If I say 2 words, depressed person, you have an image of what that kind of looks like generally, right? Sad face, hunched shoulders, head down. And then you've got like the power pose, right? That's not very depressed. That is not signaling depression. So there's a correlation between physiology and state, and focus and state, and self-talk and state. So if you find that, oh shoot, my recent behavioral patterns are showing me that I am actually not who I want to be, great. You just use one of your red dots. Cash it in. Do something about it. Because change happens now. So it is at that moment, right there, that you become aware of, these behavioral patterns that recently aren't aligned with who it is that I am. Do something about it right now. Do something about it right now. Because that action is going to reinforce the identity that you're looking for. And what happens when you don't? Your focus starts thinking about the outcome that you don't want. Your self-talk starts reinforcing that. Oh, I'm not that person. Man, I'm not that guy anymore. I'm not him no more. Damn it. Oh, now I'm depressed. You know, I love this metaphor. When you're on a raft going down a river, let's say you're on a 5-star whitewater raft, and people are like, this ride is notorious for people dying. You're like, shit, I don't want to die. You get to the jagged part, okay? You got to make it through this hole, and the hole is right next to the jagged rocks. My question to you is, which one are you going to hit? Where are you going to go? You're going to go where you're focused on. You look at the rocks, bro, that's where you're going to go. You got to lock in on that hole and fucking make it. You know? It is useful. It becomes useful. You increase your probabilities of reinforcing that identity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but like, as I said, sometimes, let's say you've not been giving yourself those proofs of you being a confident person that you thought. And this being a confident person is not something that you knew was a byproduct of all of these small wins. That is just a thing that's happening in the background. You're not aware of it. But then once these wins stop stacking and your confidence starts dropping, then your identity of yourself is doubtfulness. And then these small wins that you stack, that you have the capability to do, even they become difficult to do. Because now your confidence is lower. You don't think that you are that person anymore, so that these things become more difficult. I mean, of course, when your mental state changes from a point of confidence to a point of doubt in yourself, obviously the outcomes that you get from the same action that you used to do before would have less outcomes. How do you tackle that?
Yeah, so
That's a loop.
yeah, it is a loop. It is a loop, and it's heavy because I get that, and I've experienced that before. Like, I have been there, you know, and there's just a lot of power in these programs, you know, and I mean, it just comes back to state. Like as much as if you are aware of these patterns, you got to change your state. Do what you need to do. Do whatever you can. If you are aware of this, do what you can in the moment to change your state, so that your state reinforces the identity that is more aligned with who it is that you are. So, like, for example, I learned about this. There was this experiment that was done with people who were clinically depressed. Okay, and the control group didn't do anything. The experimental group were tasked with the responsibility of smiling at themselves in the mirror for 25 minutes immediately after waking up, and smiling at themselves in the mirror immediately before going to bed. Obviously, you're in the right brainwave state for reprogramming, and what are you doing? You're getting feedback. You're literally like programming a smile by looking at yourself in the mirror, and you do this every day for 30 days. After 30 days, over 70% of people no longer had any symptoms of clinical depression. So, like this, that's an insane data point. That's an insane data point, and that also shows. I mean, you're hitting all three of these, right? There's a change in physiology. Like you're smiling, and you're focused on that smiling in the most like malleable state of programming. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question to some degree?
I mean, somewhat.
Some degree, okay.
So like, the base of it is that usually saying fuck it, we work sometimes, but then the other times, these doubtful moments, they create a crack in your self-image that needs to be constantly taken care of. It's just something that, you just need to do something in the moment that keeps repairing that crack. so that eventually you go to that state.
So when he's over here saying he doesn't think that it's useful to enter a situation not thinking I'm the best. Right now, your identity, the identity that you have for yourself that's like the greatest version of yourself is not, it's like it's able to be compromised easily. If your identity was truly like, I'm the best, then yeah, at the root, eventually your focus and your physiology and self-talk is going to come back to that. And I guess the long-term objective, would be to get to, actually the short-term objective, why not be the best right now?
So, subtle delusion.
If you want to call it a delusion, I mean,
I mean,
the thing is that you're seeing this as if like, me, the best version of myself is inherently delusional.
no, but currently I know that I might not be my best self. I mean, there have been times when I know that I'm my best self, and then sometimes being delusional about or overconfident about who I am leads to incredible outcomes.
So, if you're overconfident about who you are, then you said what? God complex?
I'm the best, better than everybody.
See, just because I'm the best doesn't mean you're not the best. I'm the best, you're the best, we're the best. You're thinking of it as, in that context?
That's what I mean. I mean, me in context of myself, not as in showing anybody to be lesser, but like
100%.
being the best does not have to do with you being worse.
Exactly, 100%. So that's exactly what, like, at least when I say I'm the best, that's exactly what I mean. Like, I'm the best, you're the best. Just because I'm the best doesn't mean that you're not. It just means that when I'm faced with whatever, I'm going to handle it in the best way that, I'm going to handle it in the way that the best does. If I fuck up, how does the best handle fuck-ups? They take it and roll. They adapt. You know, you take your feedback and you iterate. You know what I mean? And so, have grace with yourself, you know? And do what you can to change your state, to reinforce the identity, and do it now. Sweet. Do you still have something or no? Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's like it's reinforcing identity. Like if taking the actions are too difficult in the moment, then you can do things like meditate, you know, the self-talk piece, like the affirmations to reinforce the identity that you want to embody.
100%.
In the mirror, I'm the best.
Hell yeah. First thing in the morning, right before you go to bed.
I used to do that when I was in my worst state a few years ago.
Yeah.
And that happens.
100%. The same thing happened to me when I was depressed. You know, affirmations and the first day that you're like running on the street saying I am great, I'm the best, like it feels wrong. But then like after a while, when you say I'm consistent, like okay, cool, it's been 30 days. Yeah, maybe we got skin in the game here, you know.
The month that I made the most amount of money was the month I was brushing my teeth with different hands every day and talking to myself in the mirror that I'm the best.
Pattern interrupt. He said different hands. What's happening here? He's changing different hands. Pattern interrupt creates a window. And it's first thing in the morning, right before you go to bed. So this is an example. He said the best results I ever got was when I did that. And he figured it out intuitively, right? So keep it up. Yeah. Sweet. I'm sure you guys' butts are like all asleep right now. I really appreciate the time and energy that you've brought forward. And thank you so much. Fucking get after it. You're the best. And yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. I do want to take this opportunity to shamelessly plug the product I've been working on. It's called Star Stride. It's still in beta testing. So my Twitter handle is VibeCodeKing. VibeCodeKing, would love it if you just like shot me a message. I'll send you a link to the beta test group. And if nothing else, like I would love, it would mean a lot to me if you just send me a message on what your experience today was like here coming to this experience. So give it up for yourselves one more time. Thank you so much for coming out. I'm flying out tomorrow, so unfortunately I won't see you guys after that maybe. So it's quite sad, but yeah, thanks again. Thanks, guys.